Hello, everyone, and welcome to Mind Your Mental. Just a reminder that this podcast is not meant to be a substitute for a relationship with a licensed mental health professional. I know they are hard to find, and I get that. I have a bunch of resources on my website if you need them, but I am not your clinician. I am a psychologist, but I am not your psychologist. So if you need any specific help, please look for the help of a licensed mental health professional. Learn all you can learn from the podcast. Enjoy the episode. I'll be real with you. Sometimes I enjoy going toe to toe. Now, it's not all the time, but sometimes it genuinely is funny to me because I'm just like, are you serious?
Look, I'm like you. I'm not going to lie. Like, I enjoy putting these people in their place.
Is it not? Come on now. One of my favorite pastimes, reading books and people. It's just, sometimes it's enjoyable. I'm not going to do it all day because, we got jobs.
I can't even get mad at that. Yeah. But here's what I've learned and why I'm like, I just don't have to explain myself to y'all no more.
Oh, yeah.
Number one is, like, I really am that person in this field. So I don't owe you an explanation, and it's not hard to go on Google and find out who I am. Like, you Google solution focused brief therapy or my name, you're going to get plenty of information to confirm I am exactly who I told you I was. Mm-hmm. The second thing I'll say is if I decide that Dr. Raquel Martin is not credible, there's not anything you can say to change my mind. Like, there was a video viral a few years ago. This big black dude was getting on a plane. I don't remember the airline, so I probably shouldn't speculate because I don't remember the airline. But he's getting on a plane, and they call first class to get in line. So this black dude, gets in line, and this little white woman is standing behind him and says, excuse me, this is the first class line. And the man said, I know, I have a first class ticket. The woman did not believe him and is asking this dude to prove to her that he has a first class ticket. And number one, I'm like, you don't work for the airline. You're not important in this man's travel one bit. So what makes you think this man has proved anything to you? But the man, for the purposes of, defusing a potentially difficult situation, shows her his first class ticket, which should have been acceptable to her. But what she did was she said, oh, you probably just got an upgrade. And I realize if someone questions people like you and I could tell you I graduated first in my class from Harvard University, blah, 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 and you're going to find an excuse in your head to devalue me anyway.
Yeah.
So I just don't participate it any further. Like, you question me. I don't care. I know exactly who I am. And I know you look stupid because other people in the comments are like Elliott's really him. Like, he's really him. So, like, at this point in my life and stage of where I am, I just don't even have time for it because you're doing that to devalue me. And there's nothing I can say that will stop you from devaluing me.
Oh, yeah, I definitely think it's not meant to, like, convince anyone. I think it's more so there's so many few times since I'm surrounded by most of the time people who have sense where I get to just tell people about themselves. And, I do feel as though sometimes it's a muscle that does have to be stretched. Like, I don't want to lose, abilities, and I'm consistently surrounded by amazing people that it's just like, you know what? I haven't got to do this in at least 2 months. Let's see if I still got it. You see what I'm saying? I will also state the aspect of like privilege versus rights. I feel like we are, I wouldn't say slowly because I'm seeing it happen every single day, but we're getting to the aspect where rights are transitioning and evolving into this just monster of privileges every single day. Like, we're going to the place where these are things that are supposed to be rights that are provided to us as human beings. And now they're being seen as privileges. Like, for example, I used to state that being authentic in your space and being comfortable in a realm is a privilege, but it's not a privilege. That should be a right that you have every single day. If I'm working with Black patients and I was talking to a colleague and I'm just like, Black people consistently have to read the room. We are the epitome of like, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. But that's not how it should have to be. That's because we have to figure out if this environment is safe, if we have support here, if there are any exits, if there are any enemies here. And imagine the fact that so many people walk into a room and don't have to do that. Don't have to be hypervigilant. And that should be a right. It should be a right to not have to read the room. But for so many Black people, that's not the case. And every single day, unless people combat it, we're getting to the point where people are defining things as privileges. But nah, those are rights. Like, those are things that are afforded to us all every single day in the first place. So I feel like that's That's the realm that we're getting in the aspect of it. But
no, I said hope so.
I hope so. Yeah. I mean, you just got to rage against the machine. I will tell you, the other day, my students said, I was like, so what's your process when it comes to social justice and policy? And they all came to agreement that like, oh, we're just waiting for the older generation to die. And then we're just going to fix everything. And I said, well, what counts as older? Because do I need to grade y'all's papers if y'all just waiting for me to, just pass away? And they're like, no. You're old, but you're not that old, Dr. Murray. We're talking about, when I say, I'll be like, oh my God, let me make sure I write y'all names down because nobody's passing this class. They were talking about like a generation older than y'all. And I said, I totally get where y'all coming from. One, we talk about branch and root work a lot. And I was like, that's a branch because these issues are built into the system of the policies and institutions. So I was like, you're waiting for, these branches to go away. And these are root issues. And then they're like, oh my God, she's teaching again. And I'm like, so how do we address the root issues, guys? What do? We deal with systemic changes. Okay, guys. How does that start? Education. Okay, y'all. So they were like, we was just trying to have some fun. Like, how dare you try to teach us today? Like, every single time. Because they're always just like, ugh. God. I mean, I know I'm in class, but we thought you were cool.
But I actually think even in those teaching moments, you're doing it because I think the greatest weapon in social justice is actually representation.
Oh, yeah.
So the fact that you show up as a Black woman and I show up as a Black man, and I don't just mean visually, I mean culturally. Mm-hmm. Like there are certain things that we do in our culture that 20 years ago would literally cost you your job in academia. And now, like, I show up in my culture. It causes me to have to fight battles in this field. But as I said before, like, I'm here for that because my purpose is so much larger than this moment. And I'm going to show up as my culture raised me to be. Like, I grew up as an East Coast hip hop fan. So, like, if I go shopping, I'm going to buy clothes that look like Wu-Tang Clan more than I am Sigmund Freud. And when I take a stage, that's exactly how I'm going to look. Mm-hmm. And they have to deal with that. That is your comfort.
They get to deal with that, though. I don't think it's
they have to. I would say their word. They would say have to.
And they would have to. I would say the people who actually chose to be in that room, they benefit from it, right? Because I teach this semester, I teach a mental health, hip hop music, and activism class. And we really listening to the Ghetto Boys and talk about what diagnosis is this? We're talking about representation and how hip hop, people didn't want to listen to our words, but they love listening to our culture and our music and how that came about, right? Like people get to. You're welcome, guys. You're welcome. How many people, I can quote Jamma or I can quote Jay-Z. Either way, you won't get the point. You won't understand what I'm saying. Because it makes sense either way. And when I always feel like education and the fact that you do like speaking all this stuff, that's how you know when you know what you're talking about. Because there are so many people who don't do well in those realms because they're not good at answering questions off the cuff. They're just regurgitating. If you can't educate on a model, if you can't flip it, I was always taught that I should be able to teach any concept to a 4-year-old because my patients have been as young as 4. If I can't explain cognitive dissonance to a 4-year-old, I don't understand cognitive dissonance. I don't understand where the disconnect happens, right? So many people just aren't good at it because I'm like, because it's hard to regurgitate, ain't it? It's hard to have a discussion, isn't it? It's hard to it's hard to meet people where they're at when you just reside here in the aspect of elitism, right? And that's what our field is based off of. Like therapy was never meant for us. They used to have diagnoses about having mental health disorders because you're running away from enslavement. How crazy do you have to be? Y'all got it good here. We only whip you like twice a day. You got to work on them. They need help, So it's very elitist. So I always, when people are like
1,000% true, it's very elitist.
Yeah. When people are like, it doesn't translate. I'm not good at educating it or something. I'm like, I think you got to go back to the drawing board and educate yourself a little more. Because if you can't grasp the concept to explain it, that's the power, right? In therapy, we're providing theories, but we're providing psychoeducation. Like we're normalizing your experience. You, from what you shared about solution-focused brief therapy, you're operating from a strength-based perspective, which is so important for Black people because so many times people are zoning in on our deficits. What they define as our deficits, not what we do. And you're operating from a strength-based perspective. How
powerful is that? A resource-based perspective, but yes.
And you say in a what?
I would say a resource-based perspective, but yes.
You don't think it's based off of strength too?
No, I don't love the word strength-based. Strength, because of our
Elliott, we
field.
done got rid of 2 words today.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I'll give you more. The longer we talk, I'll give you more.
What don't you like about strength-based?
Because the word strength-based means assessment for strengths. And we don't really do that. We just treat people as if they are resourceful. If you come and tell me that you want to go to Mars, I'm just going to operate under the assumption that you have all the resources to go to Mars.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk to you if those resources can be accessed to get you to Mars. As opposed to, let's assess you for your strengths, which is what we do in our field. And I'm not knocking it. I'm just explaining what the difference is between solution-focused brief therapy and what other strength-based approaches do.
Hey everyone, just a reminder that Mind Your Mental is not just a podcast. It is also a amazing community, if I do say so myself. It's phenomenal. I mean, you get more access to me. What more could you want in this life? So if you want to join the community, if you're not already on the community, go to my social media. My social media is the same, Raquel Martin, PhD, and DM me the word community so you can get details on joining this amazing flipping community. You get more access to me, y'all. Like, I'm a delight. All right. Hope to see you there.